Welcome one, welcome all to another developer interview here on the Xbox Expansion Pass. Today, I am joined by Brjann Sigurgeirsson and Adam Vassee, developers behind the upcoming SteamWorld Build, slated to hit consoles and PC later this year. I am your host, Luke Lohr, the InsipidGhost. Adam, Brjann, thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
I'm ecstatic to have you guys. I could not be more thrilled to have you. SteamWorld is a wonderful franchise that holds a fantastic place in my heart. I guess first off, congratulations on the announcement of the game. We're some weeks removed from the Thunderful stream. What was it like to watch the reaction from fans to the announcement and seeing a new SteamWorld project, several SteamWorld projects? How did that feel?
Do you want to go first, Adam?
No,
Okay, fine.
Do you?
Yeah, so it's safe to say that SteamWorld Build, the announcement, has been the most successful announcement that we've made to date. So it's been super exciting, and I don't know about you, Adam, but you wear your heart on your sleeve, like when you do a thing like this, and you're so worried that you're gonna get negative feedback, right? Or someone is just gonna say, "Yeah, it looks kind of lame," but then it hasn't. I haven't seen that. It's like it's been as far as I can tell, it's been 100% positive, and that's rare for us. Even though like we know that we make good stuff, like there's always this. There always has to be one, that comes up with with some opinion, and you get so you it's so hard to like focus on all the good stuff that people are saying. It's so easy to focus on the negative. So it's been massively successful and exciting. How about you, Adam?
Yeah, so I mean, like for us, we did host this in-house announcement party for all the developers that have been working on this title. So I was really excited, and we bought a lot of like cakes with a SteamWorld logo, and we had these balloons, and we had like everything you need to have to host a party. And then we had this full big screen where we were about to watch the live stream. So yeah, I was super excited. So when I arrived to the studio, it was something like with the mood, because all the developers was there when we were about to celebrate, but there were some tension, right, in the room. And I couldn't like put my finger on it. But it turns out that everyone was like super nervous, because we had this YouTube stream up and running, and you see a lot of comments from like fans from earlier SteamWorld games, and everyone was like, "Yeah, let's go dig free," or like requesting other titles. Because they were hoping for that, of course, because like I mean, the Dig series is fantastic, and the Heist game is like a great game as well. So I can understand that, but that's not what you want to see when you are a developer and really nervous about the announcement. But like I mean, everything went superb, and we have been like looting around different of forums, and watched all the streamers basically that had put up things on YouTube, and we received a lot of praise, and there has just been like good comments and posts regarding our demo and our announcement. So we're really happy, but of course we're really nervous when announcing, because this is something new and something that people didn't expect. But I think in the end, hopefully people people wasn't aware of, okay, but we want this game as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I think it was clear in watching the SteamWorld Telegraph, which I would point any listener to over on the Thunderful YouTube channel. Definitely a good source of information, but also enthusiasm. You guys were excited to talk about this one, and I think it makes sense that fans, including myself, would wonder if SteamWorld Dig 3 was a thing, if it was another kind of known quantity. But you yourselves have described SteamWorld as a wrapper of multiple genres, and there's a lot of genres encompassed with the SteamWorld brand. Um, 10 years, all the genres, all the way back to tower defense and Metroidvania. Why go this route with SteamWorld
Oh,
Build?
well, I think it kind of lies in the history of the franchise. I think the answer. So it started. You pointed out it started out with the tower defense game, SteamWorld Tower Defense, a really small effort in 2010, and then SteamWorld Dig, that was sort of the breakout hit for the studio that I started, Image and Form, back in 2013, and that was before we did that. Before Tower Defense and SteamWorld Dig, Image and Form had been a work for hire studio, and we'd made a ton of edutainment games, like learning games for kids, and it was a never-ending stream of these learning games. And like in the
Mhm.
beginning, that was really exciting to make that, but then when you've made three of them, then you're just like, okay, we've got the hang of this. When you made five, it's like, okay,
Mhm.
is this where we're going? And when you've made 30 of them, it's like that's when you start thinking, it's like, is this what my life is going to be? Right? It's very
Mhm.
samey. It's delightful because we know money is coming in like every month and so on. That's fine, but creatively, it gets depressing after a while. And so when we realized that um, we could make a tower defense game in a series and then make a radically different sort of platform mining adventure that SteamWorld Dig was, it was
Mhm.
and that became sort of a breakout hit. Then we realized that we can bet 100% of our time on this, and if we are really clever with this universe, then we can make sure to fit any type of gameplay into it. Like we can literally make any time we want to make at any time, right?
Mhm.
So after SteamWorld Dig came the radically different SteamWorld Heist, which was a turn-based tactics, 2D shoot 'em up, or like 2D XCOM, if you like. And then after that,
Mhm.
uh, we returned to Dig again with SteamWorld Dig 2, and 2 years after that, a radically different game again with SteamWorld Quest, which is it was a
Mhm.
card-based game, right? So I would say that going in this direction, it's not only what the franchise is all about, that we are free to explore any gameplay that we want, but it's sort of, I expect no less from us. I think that's what we should be doing, like with our games, and that's as far as I'm going to take the answer on that question. Then I'm going to hand it over to Adam, because it was actually the station got acquired by Thunderful, and just weeks after the acquisition, presented this idea of making a city builder, and with these, but not only a city builder. Sorry. So then I'll leave it to you, Adam, please.
Yeah, I mean, like in our studio here in Karlsson, we have always like been in love with city builder games, and we have always been really passionate about them. And since we were acquired by Thunderful, who actually got this fantastic IP, the SteamWorld IP, we actually saw this huge opportunity to do something cool with that. So. Yeah, we presented this idea, and yeah, it was well received, so to say. So we could like, it was like less than a month after we started to prototype that we got this approval by Brjann, and then we were just okay, let's go, let's do this, and yeah, from there it's basically that's it. So I mean, it was a huge honor, of course, for us to work with IP, because we were big fans since earlier, and
Mhm.
it was great because like I could put all of the team of my team members to play all the SteamWorld games to get the right feeling for for this development, and then we just moved on, and yeah, things has been working really, really, really fine in this production. So yeah, we are really, really happy about that. But of course, it has been also a huge responsibility, because you want to honor the franchise and the IP, and how to do that when you're doing something new. And also, since we wasn't or I mean, because Image and Form has always been doing these kinds of games, and now we were a new studio, so of course that put a lot of pressure. But I think we managed to do something really, really good and presentable for the SteamWorld series.
Oh yeah, I think you nailed that one. I think you nailed that one. You mentioned prototyping, Adam. When and you guys announced early 2023. When did prototyping start?
So we have been working on this title for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it have been a really fast production. So we started prototype in early 2020, right?
2020.
Think-
Okay.
No, no,
Yeah, exactly.
2021. I always
Time
like,
flies when you're having fun, right? So it's
yeah, yeah, time's flying. Maybe, so when we
yeah, no,
acquired by,
exactly. So that was the towards the end uh, of 2020, right? So and then you presented the game
yeah,
to me early 2021, and then I think, and then
yeah, okay,
I was really surprised to see the prototype uh, being the ideas were there so quickly. I mean, sometimes when you prototype, it's nothing. You know, it's like just gray boxes,
Mm-hmm.
and you just sit and say, "Yeah, what am I? Can I see something soon?" It's like this was. I think your graphics team, which is obviously amazingly talented, right? It it just put that the prototype of the gameplay linked with the graphical presentation in the pitch was just so compelling. So it was that was very easy. It was very simple to easy to fall for it. And I think I mean we should mention that as well about the station. The station has worked on a number of number of very important IP in the past, like mainly Little Big Planet, right? And
yeah.
doing a lot of graphics work there, and always pulled it off with flying colors. So for us to hand over the or to give you access to let you work on the SteamWorld IP, I was never really worried about like how it was going to look. Obviously, it's SteamWorld is always about gameplay, and so that's that was sort of where the point that needed to be proved. But every time I sat down to play, I would make a list of like a feedback list, but I would always sort of overstay my welcome in the game. Right? I would just sit there
Mm.
and like play for hours and hours and just see what I could. It because it's yeah, there are so many interesting things in the game. It's not only a city builder, we should say as well, right? It's a you build a town, and then you cultivate the mines under the town, which is sort of links it beautifully to what SteamWorld is about historically.
Yeah, and I also want to add to that, because like since we worked with some great IPs before, and mostly for Little Big Planet, but we did those costumes tied to like Last of Us and God of War and Uncharted, and so we knew how important it is to like maintain the essence of the original material. So I mean, of course, while Image and Form and Brjann and were always there for us for like support and such, they also put a lot of trust in us to take the SteamWorld in a direction that would attract both and old and but hopefully new fans to the franchise as well.
Now, gentlemen, I think it's important because as listeners are going to be hearing you talk, you clearly have different roles of involvement here. And so, before we keep going about SteamWorld Build proper, um, Adam, you are a producer on the game. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And Bryan, what's your role exactly? I hesitate to even
Yeah,
describe it
no, that's
at this
great. So the
point.
title is fantastic. It's the title is SteamWorld Universe and Franchise Director. So that means that I'm the director of the universe, you could say. And so you're
Hmm.
welcome to live in my universe if you like, right? It's yeah. So that is the long and very pompous title. But what it means is that my role is, so I've been making SteamWorld games from the very beginning, and for
Hmm.
you might wonder like how these companies are sort of connected to each other. It's like there's so I started a studio like some 25 years ago called Image and Form, and that studio has made most of the SteamWorld games, or has made all of the SteamWorld games that have been released. Let's put it that way. And now we have announced like the, it's sort of it's the first uh, game to come out that is made by another studio. But so
Hmm.
Image and Form um, is and the station are part of a group of companies called Thunderful. And up until last year, I was the CEO of Thunderful Group, which was listed company, and it was quite a different line of work for me for a few years to be the CEO of a listed company. And I very much missed being close to the games, and so last year I handed that over to some terrific people who are running the group, and I get to concentrate 100% on all things SteamWorld. So everything that has to do with anything that is related to SteamWorld is my responsibility in a sense. It's my duty to make sure that the games follow the same, that the lore is consistent through the games. Not necessarily the graphic style or anything like that. That can go in different directions, and I think we've seen it in the past, and definitely in SteamWorld Build, as it takes like
Hmm.
a completely new goes in a completely new direction. But yeah, so just to make sure that everything sort of sticks together, that it's cohesive and makes sense. I think it would be a pity if you as a player think that, well, this I don't understand how this SteamWorld game ties into these other SteamWorld games, and then we have to come up with some brutal excuse. Yeah, it was all a dream, or like it's an alternate timeline or something like that. It's a, yeah, okay. It's much more fun if it can, yeah, if you can find references in one game to other games and so on. It's there's a beauty in that, I think, and that's part of my job.
Now, this question goes to Adam then. If Bryan is overseeing a universe, that means that you, in your game, have to create perhaps not Easter eggs, but references or maybe both to the greater SteamWorld world. So, do you
Yes.
guys at your studio have uh, like pillar things that you need to touch on, or like a document or a Bible that you have to adhere to for a SteamWorld premise?
Yes, I mean, of course, we can't do whatever we like, right? Because it has to stay in the SteamWorld universe and have to breathe SteamWorld. But I also feel like we have been allowed to experiment and to try everything out that we want to try out. So we have, I would say that we had this completely freedom, right? Um, and I mean, most of our suggestions have been approved by by Bryan because you like them, right? So there's a lot of like cameos and flirts to the old SteamWorld game in SteamWorld Build. So of course you will see a lot of things that you recognize from the earlier series. So a lot of
Yeah,
Easter eggs. You just
and
need to find them.
it would be that's a lot more fun than me telling you what Easter eggs to put in there. I mean, because whenever I discover something, I get like childishly excited. Like it's like you sit and giggle to yourself when you find something. So it's like many more minds thinking about it, and it's delightful when you find it. Like I can't think of any like instance where SteamWorld Build like stepped over a line or like didn't deliver on the promise. I think it's a really you've been I think that the station has been really taking good care of it. And I honestly mean that. I mean, obviously, I would be saying that out anyway, but I really think so. I love playing it. I love discovering these things that nobody has told me about beforehand. It's yeah, it's just delightful.
Yeah, and I mean it's really fun when you find like possibilities to, okay, hey guys, we can do this. And when you know, when you find small spots that you actually could place Easter eggs, that could be really fun. And like we really enjoying those as well. And like I can't say it right now, but last week we did find a new opportunity to do some cameos, so that we just implemented.
Ooh,
So Brjann, you're in for another treat.
wonderful.
So that's fun for everybody, I would have to imagine. One of our listeners, famous Seamus, wrote in and he wondered if he would need to play the previous SteamWorld games to enjoy Build. And I think I know the answer, but of course, take it away.
Yeah,
No, I mean, I think it's the older games are really fun as well, so you shouldn't miss out on them. And but you don't have to. Our game is accessible, so you can just pick it up and jump straight in, and you will be fine,
yeah, I
right?
totally agree. And that's a that's a skill in its or it's a difficulty in itself to make a game in a franchise and actually all every time make sure that the game is enjoyable on its own because it would be maybe it would make commercial sense for us to throw in stuff uh, that forces you to play the games. I mean, it forces you in within quotes, right? That you wouldn't get it if you hadn't played these games, or you would lose out a lot. That yeah, that's kind of that doesn't make sense though. I think it's a lot more fun if you can just pick up a game and play it and enjoy it for what it is, and then realize that wow, this is part of a bigger picture, and there's there's this timeline where this game fits. It has its place in this universe, like both geographically and chronologically. So it's yeah, yeah. You can definitely you don't have to play the games, but like Adam said, it's like you should pick them up because they're really good.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. And I'm sure you get more out of those references and such,
And
to say
and
the least.
we have like of course in SteamWorld Build we have some lore. So for all of you that have played the game, will get some more lore. So yeah, I mean, pick them up and play them all. That's my advice.
I'll second that advice
Yeah.
because, yeah, they're a blast. I'm curious though, guys, what makes a good construction management simulator? Like, I'll confess that's not a genre I'm overly familiar with. So, are there any principles that are important to adhere to make kind of the best construction management simulator as a game overall?
Yeah. So I mean, we don't look at this game as uh, because I know some people refer to it as a city builder, and
Yeah.
we see it more as a resource management game.
Okay.
With yeah, so with like the the dungeon keeper, dungeon crawler influences. So to say it's a city builder, I think that could be some way misleading, because
Okay.
what we tried to do was this unique mix with the city building part, of course,
Hmm.
that goes along with the resource management, because that's the biggest part of our game, I would say. I know that I described the game as a city builder or a resource manager meets a dungeon keeper,
Hmm.
and that would be the fair description of it. Uh, so in our case, to or in our opinions, what would make this game good, and as you see in the demo, for you that played it or watched the trailer, the most important thing for us was to have this cohesive experience where everything feels connected. So you have your city that you have to build your city, but then you also have your mind where you gather resources and do the exploration thing, and then need to be aware of all the dangerous things that are hidden in underground. And for us, it was really important to have those kind of layers interact really well with each other. So I would say that that's the most important part for us, that it should feel like one game and not like two separate genres.
You mentioned those dangerous things underground. I noticed when watching trailers and the demo gameplay, monsters or critters underneath. Are we defending our town at any point? How are we managing them?
So you have to defend your mine, because like there is where all the hazards is living. I mean, we experimented with having like dangers and threats to the city as well, and from our point of view, because like as I said, we are real big fans of city builder games in general, and what we dislike with city builder games is the like natural catastrophe and stuff like that that could actually destroy your city. So we didn't want to do that. So we just said, hey, okay, let's keep the threats and the defending in the mine. And also we think, since we have been talking about the accessibility and stuff like that, there will be enough to keep track of as a player, just to, because you have those mine layers, and there are several layers, so you need to have your attention there, and maybe not worry too much about threats in the city, because of course in the city you need to make sure that that everything flows, and that your citizens are happy with with their life, so to say. So yeah.
It seemed like I was seeing some of that old tower defense DNA at points, but I wasn't sure. Uh, and
Yeah.
something else I noticed about the mines, and for listeners that haven't seen coverage, the reason I think, Adam, that you keep referring to the mine versus the city is you can transition very quickly, I might add, impressively, from seeing kind of your isometric view of your city to down to another view of the mines where resources are being gathered. Uh,
Yeah.
what's the philosophy between having them separate like that?
I I mean, we wanted to do the a city builder, right? But the dig games has always been below Earth, so
Hmm.
of course we want to keep this like SteamWorld, and to do this threat with the dig games, and that's why we went that way.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so
Well,
you should recognize, if you're a fan of the SteamWorld Dig games, you should recognize, okay, but this is somewhat of the gameplay that we are used to, but just in another form.
certainly you can see kind of familiar elements to anyone who's played the games before, which I think is very comforting as a longtime SteamWorld player. Uh, like an easy way to get into a genre that I maybe not, you know, predetermined to go to, or that I would typically enter into. And I think that's kind of the beauty of what SteamWorld as a franchise offers. Uh, one of the things that's really unique about SteamWorld is its art style. And up until now, it's all been 2D, either by way of side scrolling or in deck building. Now you've got 3D isometric views. Could either of you speak to kind of taking that SteamWorld art style from 2D to 3D and making it still work and stick through that and kind of keep that same visual aesthetic?
Yeah, Adam, do you want to go there?
Yeah, please start.
Okay. I'll just
Yeah.
start, and then I'll hand it over to you when it comes to the specifics of the 3D of SteamWorld Build. But yeah, it's you mentioned something there, Luke, that I think we're reading a lot of comments that, and it's been that with every time we've tried something new, that wow, this isn't my typical sort of go-to game genre, but it's a SteamWorld game. I trust the universe. Or I trust the
Mhm.
the franchise, that they're not gonna put too many feet wrong. Like this is going to be a quality game, and probably it's going to be, the gameplay is going to be tight, but the game is also going to be very accessible for me as a player. That if I don't play city builders or like resource management games because I don't like the clutter, like the typical sort of the UI that goes with games like that, then probably SteamWorld is a SteamWorld take on that is going to be more accessible than the competition, or at least that's something that we have. SteamWorld should be about really tight gameplay and uh, accessible gaming, like that. It should be pretty easy to pick up and very hard to leave. Right? So that's there's that about that. I mean, like going from 2D to 3D it's a big step, and we've thought about that for years. Like how do we do that? I mean, eventually, at some point, we could, yeah, we obviously we could go on making 2D games within SteamWorld forever, like, and never make a 3D game. But why not? It's like it'd be great if we could do that. And I think Build is just the perfect setting for it, and also the perfect studio for it. It's Image and Form is a super talented studio. It's a great studio, but 3D is there's a reason why we've always made 2D games. It's because we're really good at 2D graphics at Image and Form, and I think the station are just really good at graphics and in general, and then the perfect studio to take it into the 3D. Please, Adam.
Yeah, so of course we had to like filter everything through this like SteamWorld lens, and yeah, I mean here at Station we have the experience of working with yeah really well known IPs before. So I mean, like I said in the beginning, we started off by just processing their art style, playing all the SteamWorld games, and just to get a feel for them. And yeah, I mean, like the hardest challenge with doing doing this art and a SteamWorld game in 3D, and especially a city builder, is that our main characters is the building themselves, right? Because we don't have characters like our characters, our heroes is actually the buildings that you place out,
I
right?
see. I
Yeah,
see.
so the team worked really hard to ensure that all the buildings had these clear silhouettes and reference to objects that was familiar to the universe. So I know that we had this, for example, but we had this building, the Le Gourmand, that is this restaurant, and it looks like this giant cloche that you see at the traditional French restaurants, and like finding clear silhouettes for these buildings that would work both like zoomed away and really in close was a huge focus that we iterated on a lot.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, and of course, like we also touch on before, to the visual humor that is really important in SteamWorld games as well. How do we apply that to our game? So of course we did a lot of Easter eggs, and we would make sure that if you zoom into the buildings, that you would always find like small details and characters running around, and we have robot cats and robot cows, and so there are a lot of like visual gags and charming animation in our game. So just zoom in and have a look at what's going on.
I mean, that was sorry, Luke. Yeah,
Something.
I was.
Oh, go
If
ahead,
I
Brjann.
can just add to that, when I played it the first time, I think I spent the first 30 minutes at least, like just playing without zooming in, without realizing that I could zoom in, right? And when I zoomed in, it wasn't just that everything got bigger. Like the sounds become like more focused on where you are, and it becomes like context sensitive, if that's the word, right? Then suddenly, like you see these animations on the houses and the areas around that are just it's just ridiculous. Some of these, how wonderful they are. Like the glass blowing factory, for example. It's that's amazing. I mean, all of them are amazing, right? I can't really pick out examples, but it's delightful. It's just so much playfulness.
And I think also that because we were also looking to have, since we have those separate layers, because we also wanted the city building part of the game to be like this Zen experience, and then so you should be able to spend time up in the city layer and just like uh, look at things and work with the beautification, place decorations and make things beauty, because that's a part of a city builder game as well, because that's how some people really enjoy it. It's just to make a beautiful city, and we wanted to let the players that are really interested in that kind of uh, I wouldn't say gameplay, but that kind of thing, we would give them that as well. So we have a lot of decorations, and you can basically, yeah, do the beautification you wish for.
So you got a demo out on Steam now, which is pretty exciting. Are you guys soliciting feedback from those players? Are you tracking message boards or Discord, or is it heads down? Let's focus on bringing us closer to release date.
No, of course, we're monitoring everything. So we have been collecting all the feedback, and all the positives as well. And I mean, like sometimes you actually uh, find some really good things that, okay, we didn't think about this. Okay, but this is great. Let's implement it. I mean, we have done some quality of life improvements based on what we have been reading online already.
That-
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting to see for sure, and I'm sure. I know that several people are in my circle are enjoying the demo as well. Um, Guys, you have a lot of excitement that surrounds the SteamWorld franchise, and I think it was something we've talked about a bit through the course of the interview. You've also got a lot of platforms for fans to experience this franchise on. Uh, and once this game makes its debut, it'll be on all consoles, PC as well. But it's not always been consistent where SteamWorld makes its debut or which platforms it's on. And one of our listeners, Anubis, wrote in kind of asking, why sometimes Xbox, why sometimes not, why sometimes this platform, that platform. SteamWorld's in a lot of different places. Is it tough to track that? Is there a reason for that?
That's a really good question. It's so the latest game that come out that came out in 2019, SteamWorld Quest, and it was at still at that time like it was. it was just one studio, like of around 20 people making everything in SteamWorld, and we used our own, like for all of the games, we've used our proprietary C++ engine to make the game. So we haven't used Unity or Unreal or any of the yes, standard environments, and that means that it's been it's always been like really really hard to find resources to make the games. I mean, we at when we started making the SteamWorld games, one of the things that we said was we let's bring every game to as many platforms as possible, because as a small studio, that's a good way to maximize your chances at having revenues. And so, because
Hmm.
making games is really expensive and porting them is relatively inexpensive. But then it also comes down to availability of people, like resources, like a head count of 20, um, trying to juggle like leapfrogging game development projects and so on, and then the universal truth in game development that every game is always delayed. Like it doesn't like it doesn't matter what game you're making, like it's always going to be late, and necessarily so, of course, like because you want to make the best game possible. But it also means that sometimes you look at you look you I would sit and plead with the team to find extra hours to port to every platform, like every conceivable platform. And sometimes we just didn't have the resources to put on it. And I'm the the like if you're making games in Unity or Unreal, it's fairly simple to just reach out to porting studios and say, listen, guys, we need we don't have the time to put it to the specific platform. Can you do that work for us? Here's the source code and so on. But here, like for us, it would every time we would do all of the porting in-house, because or porting it to making it available to all platforms in-house, because we realized that it was impossible um, to explain our development platform or development engine to other developers and still have a feasible porting process. It just we didn't have them we didn't have the people in house, and it became just stupendously expensive, like for people to learn our engine and then make sure that the games came out to every platform. So I would say I think we've put out every game on many platforms, but not every game is on every
Yep.
platform.
Well, yeah, that's tough to be. It'd be impractical to stop development on some new things just to go back. I would imagine at times. Does that proprietary engine negate the idea of like a collection down the line that could come to more platforms? Like I've never played the tower defense game on a DSi.
Yeah.
Um, some people haven't touched uh, SteamWorld Quest or whatnot. Like, does that proprietary engine negate seeing those titles on future
Not
platforms?
necessarily. I don't think so. I think also uh, some of the sometimes it's also been about uh, at a certain point in time it was difficult to port to a certain platform and so on. So I think, and then at other times it's been uh, purely like a resource problem. So it's I don't think, if anything, I think we're now that now that we have so many studios under Thunderful, it if anything, it just makes it easier yeah, to make sure that we can get collections, that we can get all the games out on all platforms. It would be marvelous to put out collections of the games, right? Because I mean, there's also so much under the hood that nobody sees, or like um, a game is a game presents what the game can contain, but there's like hundreds of man hours in the background, like putting together the lore of what SteamWorld is, and all the characters that, like, a character may appear once in a game and then like make a cameo as a non-speaking character in another game, and it would be so just so wonderful to put together a material about this world, that really is consistent and has so much, um, that isn't shown in every game. Like, if you blink, you'll miss something that, yeah, that
Mhm.
exists, right? So definitely, I don't think there's a problem with that. That, just since you asked specifically about SteamWorld Tower Defense, um, it, it's wonderful in a way to have this one game that is just inaccessible to everyone, right? Like, that becomes mythical. Like, uh, but also that game is a small effort, right? It's if you let's say that we brought that to all platforms, and people would say, why did they do that now? I mean, this game is clearly, this is a much smaller game, and it really is. I mean, it's a game made by four people, I think, at the back in those days. Yeah.
That's a brilliant answer, but it leaves room for
Oh,
hope to see some of
oh
those
yeah,
titles in the
and I should
future.
also mention that I myself is just I one of the great ideas behind Thunderful, like from my perspective, was that I'm so impatient, right? Or maybe I'm getting so much, I'm so much older these days that I realize I'm going to die soon, right? So it's I think that I need
Oh,
I think Thunderful is one.
I'm watching Adam's face right now.
No, what I mean is, I think Thunderful is a wonderful idea in the sense that we can have more studios working on SteamWorld, so that we can have more games coming out in the franchise. Because, like Adam said before, like SteamWorld Build has been 2 years in the making. If you're as old as I am, like 2 years is that's a big chunk of what you've got left, right? So it's like let's make sure that we can make as many games as possible uh, that are great and interesting in the franchise.
Hey, I watched Adam's face the whole time, and then it's just like, keep it together,
Yeah,
Adam. Keep it together.
I mean, Brjann, the only thing that is certain in life is that we are all are going to die. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
but I'm
yeah,
just I love SteamWorld so much, and there's so much, there are so many things that we want to make, and if we had just continued, that this is sort of the point that I was trying to make, that if we had just continued with Image and Form being the only studio that could or was allowed to make SteamWorld games, then yeah, a lot of these great ideas wouldn't have been realized. Like SteamWorld Build, for example, wouldn't have come about. So yeah, I think this is great.
In the same way that I guess I ask about multiple platforms, and now you've got multiple studios and this grand franchise. There's also a lot of ways to deliver games to people. And I'm alluding to things like Xbox Game Pass, PlayStation Plus, Epic Games Store, as well as, a la carte, just purchasing the game. Um, as a business, like, how do you decide whether or not to pursue those avenues versus a la carte? Is that something you guys are interested in? How do you, yeah, I guess it's a typical question to word, but when you've got so many ways to get games to people and you're on so many platforms, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, it's um, well, for SteamWorld, like, since that's, if we can start there, like SteamWorld is a franchise that we don't want to. I don't think we ever want that to be exclusive to one um, platform or vendor or marketplace, because today we have a lot of players on all of the platforms, and it would be just so sad. Like, if you read, yeah, you go to your favorite gaming websites and read that there's a new SteamWorld game coming out, but it's going to be exclusive to this or that platform, and that's not and neither or and that platform's not your platform. I mean, it'd be the
Right.
worst, right? You'd start hating the franchise. Like, why would they? Or you could, right? You start hate. You could definitely start hating the people behind the franchise. Like, why would they make a decision like that? And so, when it comes to SteamWorld, I think we will always keep that open, like so that it comes out, so every game comes out on as many platforms as possible. So that's the general rule for SteamWorld. When it comes to other games, um, like it can be a really strong way to start an IP to forge a partnership with someone like Game Pass, who I think have they've been very active and also quite generous towards developers since the inception. And so I think it's a great way to launch an IP. You form a partnership like that. Make sure that you have a good business deal so that perhaps like development is paid for, or development is paid for plus some, or I mean, just that you so that you can develop the game at your own pace and create a really great product. Then you can, now that the game is out on this on a really on a good platform, then you can start working on that IP more if it's successful. If it isn't successful, and then well, it's definitely been a good way to level up your studio at least, right? So it's a good way of de-risking new IP. I think if you take an established IP and sign something exclusive for that, then you're going to exclude a lot of people in the process, and maybe you're going to damage the IP in the eyes of a lot of people going forward. So yeah.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
And
Uh, Go ahead, Adam, please.
yeah, I just want to add because like this is something that we thought about like early in the development as well, because we didn't want to port our game, so that you develop for the PC version and then you port it to consoles. So like when we started this journey, we were like, okay, but we want to release our game on multiple platforms, and we want to make sure that everyone get this great experience that you can have on a PC. Because like for our genre, this city builder resource management game, there are mostly played on with a keyboard and mouse, right? And it's a typical PC kind of game, right? So we had this with us when we started this production. So we said, hey, let's develop this game for all the consoles, and to have that in mind when we were working with our UI and stuff like that. So it would feel equally good playing on a PlayStation or an Xbox with a controller than it would do on a PC and a mouse. Because what we thought was that, because sometimes you can, when you play other games, you can kind of sense that, okay, but this was a PC version, and now they really struggle to get this work on a console, right? And we didn't want to go that road. So everything has been developed with in mind that it should work equally well regarding UI, regarding controller support, and stuff like that.
It's good insight. That's seriously good insight. Uh, Gents, as we wind down, I want to get to one or two more listener questions. You guys said in the Telegraph that there are 4 separate SteamWorld titles in development, including Build. So I guess 3 that we don't know about. Listener Todd Oxter writes in and wants to know, is there a genre that excites and scares you the most when it comes to SteamWorld?
The most, I'm not sure. I mean, there are genres that's yes. The only scary genre for me are scary games because I hate them. I get so terrified playing horror games. So maybe there isn't a horror game in the works, right? Maybe. Let's
Maybe,
yeah,
yeah, keep it open. Found footage SteamWorld horror title.
SteamWorld
Terrifying.
Scare isn't coming like within the next few months. Right? So
And if we have to do
That's a
that,
dope
I don't
name.
want to be a producer of that because I'm really scared of like
so
horror games as well. I mean, I loved the Last of Us, but that was like it's a great game, but I did struggle a lot because it was too scary
yeah,
for me. So
I agree
Yeah,
with you there, Adam. It's a um no, like but the I think the core of the question there is there any genre that we feel that yeah let's not go there. No, not really. You know, it's like I really love the idea that SteamWorld is open in every direction. I mean, now it's a card game. It's a town builder slash a dungeon crawler. It's there are two dig games. There's a turn-based tactics game. There's a tower defense game. It's like, wouldn't it be great, like to to be able to surprise with every other announcement? Like that's for me. That just sounds so good. You know, it's like it's imagine the
well,
alternative,
yeah,
Luke, is
w-
that like that we would have to that we were locked into this genre and we were just making sequels. Like how boring would it be to talk to us like every time? Like so, tell us. The SteamWorld Dig 35. How does it differ from number 34? Right? It's. I think this is infinitely better to do it. So we're not scared of any genre. We're ready to take on anything that makes sense.
that is brilliant to hear. I wonder though if that doesn't uh, kind of negate the idea that is SteamWorld Dig 3 a possibility, SteamWorld Heist 2 a possibility. In the effort to continue diversifying, does that mean that sequels in like within their genre may not happen?
We've made it one sequel already, like SteamWorld Dig 2. I think I think we work this. We function the same way as the players, right? I mean, we didn't play these games, and we like enjoy playing them a lot, and we always keep things like what happened, what would happen after. I mean, sequeling is yeah, is always an option. I think it's great if it is because then if we make a if we create a game that completely tanks, then we're not going to make a sequel because yeah,
Sure.
we're not gonna that it's probably not gonna make our money back, and it'll we've annoyed people once with that game. It's like why do it twice? But yeah, but with games that people like, yeah, for sure, we're yeah, there's nothing negating sequels.
Famous Seamus had written in and he'd posed a note. He'd listed like every cool genre in there. One of the ones he touched on was real-time strategy, and I feel like that would be such a cool fix, especially after in seeing in Adam's game the isometric view. It just seems so. It seems like to me in watching SteamWorld build footage, it's like, oh my gosh, my mind is opening up to SteamWorld in a new way again, like another new way that I could experience this universe. That stuff's really cool that you guys get to have that effect on
Yeah,
people.
but RTSs are awesome. It's like that'd be
yeah,
wonderful, right?
yeah,
Adam, get to work. Like, make us an
yeah,
RTS.
Yeah,
absolutely.
just snap your fingers. I hear game development's really easy, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
no
it's
problem.
really easy. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
I will have something for you guys next week.
Oh, great. There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah, release date, Shadow Drop. That seems to be popular right now. No problem. No
yeah.
problem. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time today. I could not have enjoyed this more. Absolutely a pleasure to get to talk to you guys. Please Let people know. Well, first, let me say to the listeners, thank you guys for listening. Of course, you can support XEP over on Patreon. You can follow me over on Twitter at InsipidGhost and XEP on all your podcast services. But, gentlemen, let people know if there's any pending announcements. If there's not, no problem. SteamWorld Telegraph was incredible. Where can we find you guys on your socials, if anywhere, and where would you point players to?
Sweet, very good. So I would I would point you to SteamWorld Games on Twitter and Thunderful Games on Twitter. Adam, like hurry and tell me the station Twitter handle and so on.
Uh,
While you're frantically searching,
uh,
let me take this opportunity to thank you, Luke, and thank the listeners as well for bearing with us. Like it's been a true pleasure talking to you as well. But yeah, it's
Thank you.
go go online and find us at SteamWorld Games and Thunderful Games and the station.
The station.
yeah, this station SE is our Twitter.
Perfect.
So yeah, and
And of course,
we
I'll
have
have that linked in
Instagrams
note.
and yeah. I mean, search for the station and you will find us.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, once again, thank you for
Thanks a
joining
lot.
me.
Cheers.
Thank you.